Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. This is my report about mobilized organizations and institutionalized continuous improvement. Topic 3. Chief Financial Officer from Controller to Facilitator of Change. Mobilize the organization. Results can be achieved quickly when a large part of the organization is mobilized. Mobilization goes beyond communication, which is often characterized as a two-way exchange of information to enlisting the active involvement of individuals. Communication is necessary but not sufficient in driving major organization changes quickly. Unfortunately, in many change efforts, this concept is misused in several ways. A project team spends weeks or in some cases months preparing a business case, a new design, and an implementation of plan. In other large change efforts, organizations spend weeks preparing elaborate communication plans incorporating the most advanced delivery mechanisms. In some change efforts, communication is often seen as a separate activity. More important is the fact that managers are responsible for communication. Communicating to the organization is one of the primary responsibilities of management, and if managers neglect this task, the organization cannot be mobilized. Mobilization occurs around a specific purpose and specific individuals. Pe- People do not mobilize around communication team. The communications team supports with the exchange of information. An executive's efforts around mobilizing his or her people around a strategic agenda. People also become mobilized if they see the executive team devoting their attention to these objectives. The CFO has already completed the first steps in mobilizing an organization by clarifying the strategic agenda, using every opportunity to communicate his or her objectives, and working with the executive team to create shared understanding and common management practices. As mentioned before, a primary mode of learning in an organization is by observing behaviors, determining what works and what does not, and then modeling those behaviors. Once the organization understands what the CFO is trying to accomplish and is mobilized, he or she will need to sustain that momentum. This is usually accomplished by ensuring operating executive accountability and involvement, determining specific measures, having clear operations, review process in which the projects are discussed, providing feedback, and communicating as a normal course of action. Communication is often seen as a separate activity. To maintain momentum, communication must be seen as an integral part of the managerial process. Communication should not be seen as separate from managing the daily operations. And the key success factor is how well the CFO integrates communications. Ang mobilize the organization daw, ito yung paraan na ginagamit ng mga organization para mas madali para sa kanila na malaman yung mga dapat at hindi nilang gagawin na pagbabago. Sa pamamagitan nito, nagagamit nila ang kakayanan ng bawat individual through communication. Maaring mobilize sila in a team with their common skills nang sa ganon mas mapapabilis ang mga gawain. Ang pinakamalaga sa lahat sa mobilization ay ang communication ng bawat isa. Institutionalize continuous improvement. Facilitating change is ongoing process. The more effective a CFO is at instituting adopting a continuous improvement mentality and process. The easier it will be to keep driving change. A continuous improvement mentality suggests that we are constantly reviewing and questioning how we are doing and using systematic, measurement driven approach to improving performance. Many organizations have implemented processes such as total quality management, Six Sigma, and continuous improvement to help sustain changes. The most common methodology is characterized by the following approach: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This approach was developed by the manufacturing industry to improve efficiencies given ever shrinking margins, but it's now expanding into other industries. The philosophy of continuous improvement is define a problem to solve. It should be realistic and doable. Measure current performance to set a baseline and determine measures. Analyze what is causing the gap. Determining de- determine determine a realistic target and then implement the improvements. Implement control mechanisms to ensure that the new activities become institutionalized. The most effective teams also use this process to continuously improve their management practices. One group of executives periodically review their management practices in an effort to improve how they manage the business. They review how well they made decisions, how well they held each other accountable, how open they were to the opinions, whether their meetings included substantive dialogue, how well they communicated expectations to presenters, and so forth. By institutionalizing a process by which management openly and honestly questions not only what they are doing, but also how they are managing implementing changes quickly and effectively becomes a core competency. Sa institutionalized continuous improvement daw, dito naman kapag CFO ay dapat na maging mas epektibo o porsigido sa pagtatag ng patuloy na pagpapaunlad ng organization. Dapat lagi silang aware sa mga possible problem na kaharapin ng organization. Lagi silang mag-focus sa mga bagay na nagiging dahilan ng pag-aantala o pagbagal ng improvement. Ano-ano mga ano-ano nga ba yung mga yon? Laging may questions. Alamin ang problema para mabigyan agad ng solusyon. Laging alamin ang kalagayan ng organisasyon. Pag-aralan lagi ang mga naging dahilan ng mga gap o pag-antala ng improvement. Alamin ang mga realistic target ng organization at pagplanuhan ng maayos ang mga ito.